Truman Capote was born on the 30th of September 1924 in New Orleans to Lillie Faulk and salesman Archulus persons. Truman's childhood shattered a few years after his birth. The year he turned 4, his parents began to have several issues in their marriage. The issues lasted for months and defied all attempts at salvaging their union. They divorced the same year, and their son, Truman, was thrust into the buffeting instabilities that are associated with broken homes. Because his mother did not have the wherewithal to raise him on her own, Truman was sent to Monroeville, Alabama, where he was raised by his maternal relatives. At his maternal home, Truman's life experienced a semblance of peace as he forged a genuine bond with his aunts and uncles. He had so many friends and playmates in Alabama, including his neighbor, Harper Lee, who became his closest friend all through his years in Alabama. Truman was committed to education at an early age. He taught himself how to read and write before he was enrolled in elementary school. He was often seen with his dictionary and notepad. Despite the fact that Truman had a lot of neighbors to play with, he felt lonely as he yearned for a complete home, replete with 2 parents and siblings. His longing suffused his life with a sense of loneliness. He took to reading to navigate this unpleasant feeling. Reading soon became more than a hobby to Truman. He read to inhabit different worlds and to escape his own. This resulted in his decision to create his own worlds. At the age of 11, Truman started to write fiction. The stories he wrote gave him great satisfaction, although they were far from professionally written. This consolidated his desire to become a writer in the future. The year he turned 8, Truman's mother remarried and sent for him. He traveled to New York City, where his mother lived with her husband. His stepfather grew fond of him and legally adopted him. And for the first time, Truman knew the joys of living with both parents under the same roof. Truman continued to write, reading voraciously, honing his craft. He entered a children's story competition the same year and won. This became his strongest motivation to keep writing. Truman's life came crashing before him a second time when his adoptive father was convicted of embezzlement and his family was forced to leave their house. Truman attended the Trinity School, New York City, and St. Joseph Military Academy, even though he had no interest in joining the army. He graduated high school in 1942 and never went past that. Considering the financial situation of his family, Truman got a job as a cupboy in the art department at the New Yorker. The job wasn't very lucrative, but took care of his needs for 2 years. However, disaster struck again when he was fired by the New Yorker, not because he was incompetent or that he had broken any rules, but because he annoyed a popular writer who demanded that he be fired. The termination of his appointment was a hurtful and spiteful rejection, which Truman took in stride. He continued to write and do several odd jobs. Eventually, he started getting published and winning literary awards, eventually becoming a far more successful author than the writer who had been behind the loss of his job with the New Yorker. The thing is, in life, while making plans to be successful, we should brace ourselves for the possibility of being rejected, sometimes in the most humiliating way. But hey, that isn't the end of the road for our ambitions. If anything, rejections are proof that we are on the right path, making efforts. Berg Wilkinson said, "Rejection is the sand in the oyster, the irritation that ultimately produces the pearl." One cannot achieve success without the torture of being rejected at least once. Lance Armstrong said, "A boo is a lot louder than the cheer. If you have 10 people cheering and 1 person booing, all you hear is the booing. Focus more on those who encourage you than those who turn you down." Jeremy Lim said, "Rejection gives you more power to push forward." Truman Capote was a strong-willed man who never lost sight of his dreams in the face of rejection. This is the secret of his success.